Hi, my name is Dr. Peggy Parker. I'm a biological medicine doc and a naturopath. And a few years ago, I made a discovery that promises to be a medical game changer. I discovered that ionized water has some unique antioxidant properties that are absolutely foundational for regaining or maintaining health. And in order to prove that theory into scientific certainty, I need to do a clinical trial study. And doing this study has been an absolutely overwhelming passion of mine for the last few years. And now all the pieces are in play, and it's time for me to begin. The first time I heard about ionized water was actually during my biological medicine training. And I tried this water ionizer that was recommended, and I didn't really like it. Then I got really sick. Actually, my gallbladder became gangrenous before doctors figured out what was wrong with me. And so when they tried to remove it, they left a lot of gangrene in my body. And so I was really literally rotting from the inside out. I was really sick, couldn't seem to get much better. I tried everything that my naturopathic and biological medicine taught me that had worked to help my patients, but it wasn't really doing much for me. And a friend of mine told me about ionized water. And because I had a negative experience with it in the past, I just ignored her. And she kept talking to me about it, and I kept being sick. So one day I found out that there was a man coming from Japan to do a lecture. So I decided to go to the lecture, and during this 3-hour lecture, it took a long time because we had to do translation. During the 3-hour lecture, I drank 4 16-ounce glasses of this ionized water, and every symptom that I had disappeared, and it stayed gone for 2 full days. So I knew there was something important. I just couldn't figure out what it was. So I went home and I started thinking about it. And then I was like, oh, I think I might understand what's happening. So I went and bought an ionizer, arranged for 10 of my patients or friends who were all 60 years old or more to be part of an informal study. And they agreed to drink a certain amount of water every day and come back in after 1 week and 2 weeks and after a month to be tested. And so what I was doing is testing their blood, their urine, and their saliva and hooking them up to some machines and kind of looking at things. Their test results were tremendously better. So it wasn't based on symptoms. What I was looking at was how minerals were being introduced into their cells, how the pH, how the cells would change pH, and how the rates of oxidation were changing. And oxidation happens when free radicals bombard your cells. And you have about 100 trillion cells in your body. And every day, each one of those cells are assaulted with 10,000 by 10,000 free radicals. That damage is called oxidation. Free radicals are really just atoms or molecules that have lost an electron. And that happens from exposure to radiation or UV lights, or so things like fluorescent light bulbs and computers and cell phones and cars and manufacturing plants and fertilizers and pesticides, and even the water that we drink and the air that we breathe that are kind of polluted, those actually contain free radicals. All of those 100 trillion cells have a few things in common, and one of them is that they're made, they all have a membrane, and that membrane's made of something called a phospholipid bilayer. That's just a fancy term for fat. And fat is one of the things that's the most easily oxidized substances in your body. And we can see examples of that in your own kitchen. If you've ever fried anything and then later you try to clean that vent fan in your kitchen and that fat is thick and sticky, that's oxidized fat. Because our cell membranes are made primarily out of fat, as these free radicals enter our bodies, they start stealing electrons from the fat, causing a huge problem. That fat then changes its character. Instead of being a semi-permeable membrane that allows oxygen and water to flow freely in and lets carbon dioxide and a few other waste products out, instead of doing that, it starts to repel water. So the cell becomes dehydrated. It starts to repel oxygen. So now the cell doesn't have enough oxygen to produce energy. And inside the cell, carbon dioxide is trapped and other waste products are trapped. So it effectively makes a very unhealthy cell. Well, those unhealthy cells will divide and multiply in your body, just like all cells will. So healthy cells, unhealthy cells, they all do the same thing. They divide and make two new daughter cells that are identical to the parent cell. When that happens, we start to see tissues change. We start to see organs change. We start to see glandular systems change. And so wherever your genetic weakness is in your body, whether it's your eyes or your heart or your blood vessels or your skin or your pancreas, wherever the weak link is, that's where we're going to see a disease process or an illness begin to form.